You have to get ruthless in fantasy football when you're looking to trade away some of your stars to maximize that value. And as we are deep in rookie draft season, if you are a player that is rookie draft hungry, then you might want to be moving some of these assets away to bolster your provisions as you head into those drafts. First up, Ed, I have a selective group of trade away candidates. I'm going to look at some aging running backs. We've spoken about aging running backs a couple of times so far in the offseason, haven't we?
We have, and looking at the screen, there is some ridiculous talent on that screen. And why on earth would you want to trade any of it away, Mark?
I mean, looking at Derrick Henry fresh off that contract signing, so we know we've got 2 more years at that price of him being the RB1 in Baltimore unless something goes catastrophically wrong. Alvin Kamara with a rookie quarterback coming in, he's going to be lent on more than ever as that safety valve for those short yardage receptions, which obviously we know are fancy gold for running backs. And then CMC, the RB1 to the RB non to maybe the RB1 again this year. Each of these players has a route to being fantastic this year, but they're on a more guaranteed route, and that is the route to being quite old for a running back and therefore losing their fantasy value. Now, if you are in contention, if you're going for a championship this year, you're going to keep these players. You're going to get another year out of them. You're going to keep them there. You're going to get the points that you can from them. But if you're not in win now mode, I'd be moving these players on. Either pre-rookie draft, as I said at the top of the show, to get as many picks as you can. But the caveat for that is convert those picks into players. If you're going to trade away one of these players in some sort of package where you're ending up with a mid-round 1 pick, maybe, you're thinking, well, do you know what? I might be able to get myself Travion Henderson. He could be the next Alvin Kamara, who's going to have fantasy value for years to come. Know what you're getting in return. The other option is you hold on and you trade them in season when you know who the contenders are, and you can maybe start yourself a bit of a bidding war as you get towards your trade deadlines. Look at who those players might be. Start tapping them up. I mean, ideally, as well, if you've got a contender and a Ravens fan, you'll probably get a little bit more for Derrick Henry than you might from another possible trade, because people have those team biases, don't they? Were there any other players you'd put into this mix of the aging running backs you'd be looking to move on, Ed? Before I'm gonna drop a bit of a bomb on another player I would just put into this mix and might be moving on to.
No, I think these three are really well selected. And I think the key here is you're going to have to be quite aggressive if you're going to move these on. You're going to have to go out and look for those trades. And you need to look at your league and think, well, who is in win now mode? Who would love a player like Derrick Henry or CMC on their team, and who is willing potentially to overpay for them with picks. So yeah, you're going to have to be aggressive if you're going to move them on, and you could get some really good value.
Now, I'm not sure how you're going to view where I'm moving on to with my trade away candidates, but next up,
if you mention Joe Burrow, I am leaving the show immediately.
I think we should also consider trading away the second-rate quarterback, Mr. No, of course not. I'm going to say instead Saquon Barkley. Now,
whoa, okay,
hear me out. Will he be RB1 again this year? Will he be RB1 again this year? Yeah, possibly. He's in with a shout. We speak about the curse of the 101, but here's a player who has shown it, he's done it. He could well be the RB1. He could be the fantasy player 1 overall this season. The year after, he could still be in the mix. The year after, who knows? He'll be 30 then. Yes, Derrick Henry's still knocking out the yardage and assigned that contract to 31, but he is a genetic anomaly. We know this of Derrick Henry. He is a bit of a unicorn, to use that off-rolled out phrase, in the running back market. If you're in a championship hunt this season, or maybe looking to get a good run together this year and next, no, don't move him on. Absolutely keep him. There is no price that would convince me to get rid of him if I could win a championship. Rookie picks are for potentially the rookie draft and they never amount to anything. Championships are forever, and he could walk you to one this year. But if you are a team that is in kind of full rebuild mode, maybe your only bit on your roster is actually of any value to you, by the time you've sorted your roster out and you're in championship mode again, potentially we've seen the best of Saquon Barkley, and he could be worth a lot more to you in what you could get in your rebuild. If you're rebuilding, if you're starting your rebuild with your rookie draft this year, unless you're confident with the players you've picked up within that early part of your rebuild, Saquon Barkley is not really the cornerstone of that rebuild as a 28-year-old running back. I think I'd put him as the only blue chip fantasy asset this season that realistically you could trade for given his age. So other players sort of in that mix, Bijan Robinson, comparable maybe this year for his output. His age counts him out of that because you're going to get several years out of him, you would hope, and a second contract. Jamar Chase, when you look at the other side, you look at the wide receivers. Yes, we know we get many more years out of wide receivers. I'd say Jamar Chase is probably unobtainable for fantasy, really, in dynasty leagues. I don't know what you need to pay for him in that situation. And if you're in rebuild, you're keeping Jamar Chase as well. You're not moving him on at all at his age. Look at quarterbacks. Top of that build, you've got Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. They're going to be outrageously expensive. If you want to get yourself a true fancy diamond, I think Saquon Barkley is probably the only player in that category you might be able to trade for. Is he going to be the best player fantasy again this year? Quite possibly, but I think he's the best player you could afford if you are trying to get a final piece in a championship team. Have I sold it to you depending what situation your team was in, Ed?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is peak value for Saquon. This offseason is the most value you're going to get out of him.
Yeah.
Let me throw it back to you. You've got Saquon on your team, and someone comes in with a bid. What does it take for you to get rid of him? You know, do you want like two rookie first round picks this year and another one next year? You know, a mixture of players. Like, is it going to take a massive haul to get rid of him?
I think it's going to have to be 2 or 3 really good value pieces. I absolutely hate a trade where I go, well, I'll throw an extra third in. Right, the third is like it's a dart throw if they're going to be relevant at all. Doesn't interest me. That's minuscule. I probably want 2 or 3 good bits. A solid option, maybe a really solid wide receiver 1 and a pick. A younger running back that's a bit of more of a gamble, maybe, and a pick in there as well. Or I'd want a pick call that, contains at least 2 firsts, I think. And it depends where they're going to be. If they're later first, I might want a bit more than that. Draft value is whatever you feel you're happy with, isn't it? And if you think it's a team that you can push a little bit more because it's the final piece of their puzzle to go on that championship run, you might be able to milk them for a little bit more in that situation. Basically, what I would like is a little bit more than whatever anyone offers me in the first place, even if that was a really good offer. Who are you going to go for your first trade away candidate?
Well, this is someone who is right now at the peak of his value. It will never, ever get any higher, and that's George Pickens. Now,
yeah, I agree. Trade him away.
Let's be honest. George Pickens, I was about to say he's not a very good wide receiver. He's an okay wide receiver, but his stock now is as high as it's ever been after his trade to the Cowboys. And the thing is, he's still a very, very clear wide receiver 2. CeeDee Lamb is wide receiver 1, and Pickens isn't touching him. And when you look at his last 3 NFL seasons, George Pickens, admittedly with a few injuries, has been wide receiver 42, wide receiver 30, and wide receiver 39. And, some of the stuff that I've seen about Pickens and the season he's going to have, I don't know what planet these people are living on. I'm not a fan at all, as you can tell. He can be electric, but there's just too many errors. And, he's going to the Cowboys where, Dak's got the big contract, but he's not really backed it up since he signed for the big money, has he? So, who knows what's going to happen with that this year. And as I say, ultimately, right now, literally, you're talking about the next month, I think is the best value you will ever get for George Pickens. So if you have him, trade him away, bank on somebody paying over the odds for someone who I just don't think has ever proved himself to be a decent wide receiver at NFL level.
I saw a quote from CD Lamb. I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but it was where he was talking about how someone made a comment about Pickens being the obvious two, and he tried to kind of butter him up a little bit and said, no, he's another good one. And I think he said he's like a mini me with the same like that. I thought that's cute, CD. It's just not true, is it?
No, it's like he's not a T. Higgins, is he? You know, he's just not proved it at any point. I mean, you know, good luck to him. He might make me look really stupid this season, but I'm really confident that he won't.
Before we move on, then, I would like to have a quick mention of the TH Fantasy Football Best Ball Bonanza 2025, raising money for the Beast of Memory Cafe, an amazing local charity who support those living with dementia and their carers. We are on our way to hopefully hitting 200 people sign up again this year, hopefully eclipsing our fundraising total of £3,000 last year. And we're also tiptoeing towards that £6,000 raised all time as well. So head down to the comments just below and click on the link there, or head over to our socials to find that as well. And if you're there, you may as well then click on Sleeper as well and get a trade away candidate off your roster, because like George Pickens, they're at the peak of their value now, and I'll be moving them on. And I know the face you're going to pull, Ed, because I'm a broken record, but I will be moving on Mr. Sam Darnold, because there's too many red flags for me to believe that we should be confident in what he's going to do this year. So he was the QB9 overall last year, and that came from, to be fair, nowhere. What was his highest fantasy finish previous to his QB9 season last year?
Well, overall fantasy finish.
Yeah.
I don't know, QB 17.
QB 25 in his rookie season in 2018. Now, this situation reminds me a little bit of 2020 Ryan Tannehill. So 2020 Ryan Tannehill was the QB8 and surprised us all for fantasy. He was then the QB12 the year after that. After that, QB26. After that, didn't play as many games. After that, doesn't play anymore. And all the warning signs were there. Yes, Ryan Tannehill had also been QB8 in Miami 2014. He'd had a good season there. But everything else we'd seen was him not being a very good quarterback and being very much everything going the right way dependent. When you look at your top quarterbacks, they are a little bit more situation proof when things aren't going wrong. And the situation for Darnold last year was spoken about constantly, was the absolute perfect situation for him to thrive in. Not perfect enough for Minnesota to decide to keep him. They've still chosen to move him on, not pay him, and see what they've got with JJ McCarthy. There are enough question marks here for me to want to tiptoe away a little bit. So at the Seahawks, essentially it's like a 1 year try him out sort of contract, really. They can walk away from that contract relatively easy at the end of this year. He's got Jalen Milroe sat behind him. We spoke a lot about Jalen Milroe. He was not a finished product, but he has the potential in the right situation to come along. And the right situation could be following the same route that Russell Wilson followed as a running quarterback drafted much later in the NFL draft and come on from there as well. So there's not pressure on Sam Darnold right now. Could there be pressure on later in the season? Yeah, quite possibly. Could there be enough question marks that he's then moved on from Seattle at the end of the season? Possibly. Where does he go then? I don't know. Is this maybe my Sam Darnold negativity coming back through again? Or is he at his peak value again now? I mean, he's going out as the QB 24 in Dynasty starts now. So he's hardly, you're going to get, not going to get a haul for the guy. But I still think that maybe next year, you don't get anything for him. You might just have to drop him to waivers.
I mean, I think that's the problem here, Mark, in that I agree with you, and I think most people will agree with you that I think he's had his best season. I don't think Sam Darnold gets any better than last season, and I think most people think that. So I think the only problem with your ingenious plan is there's not actually that much value in him.
Well, I mean, you say that, but in a dynasty draft I was doing the other day, he went off the board as the QB 12. That's mental.
Well,
there are some people believe in him.
Yeah, clearly that was clearly Sam Darnold's mum drafting, I don't think that was anyone with any common sense. I mean, he's going to have a decent wide receiving core. He's got Cooper Kupp, he's got JSN. And so, he's going to have some decent options there. And he proved last year that, he can throw a football. But yeah, I don't think you're going to you're right in the sense that probably it is peak value, but I don't think that value is very much.
No, and when we talk trade, we're not always talking about getting an absolute haul and stellar players moving back and forth. Sometimes it is just cashing in at the right time. Would you rather something or nothing? I'd rather something this year than take the gamble on getting nothing in the future. If you've got him on your roster, he is not your QB1. If it's Superflex, he's not even your QB2. He is likely going to be the player you picked up off waivers or had lurking on your roster last year. So you've not spent anything on him. You may as well get something from him and take that gamble on another player, I would say. You've got a player, though, who I think is going to attract a lot more. Well, not think. He will attract a lot more value than Sam Darnold in a trade.
Indeed. And when we're looking at a trade away target, I think you're looking at someone who is absolute peak value and who you think has kind of crescendoed in that sense. And so might surprise a few people, but I might be looking to trade away Devon Achane because he is an absolutely top quality running back. He's proved that. He was RB5 last year, but I feel with Achane, that is his absolute peak. I don't think he gets any better than that. And the question I'd ask is, if you're looking to trade him away, will you ever have any more trade capital in him? I don't think you do. He's going to be a 3-down back this year. He's not got much competition. Jalen Wright last year struggled in his rookie season, and I think he's going to be his main competition. I'd question Achane's workload in that sense. He works a lot, and I worry about his kind of body and things like that. Who knows what's going to happen with the receiving game and Tua? He seems to have kind of outrode the concussion concerns, and you'd expect Hill, if he stays there, and Waddle to have better seasons and the receiving game to be better. But I mean, I'd have a question mark over the Dolphins overall next season as it is. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Achane is probably going to have another top 10 running back season, but I don't think he does any better than he does. And I think I would get a really decent haul for him if I traded him away.
It is that workload against the fact that he's shown he isn't the most durable, isn't it? Obviously, he's a smaller back. Last year on the 70 games, he only had 203 attempts. He's not broken 1,000 yards as well. Yes, he had Raheem Mostert sharing the backfield, but he's not got that same competition unless Miami move for another piece. That's possible as well. Do you know what? I'm not sure whether I agree or not because I've still not made my mind over the last 2 years what I think about Achane anyway, because we've seen both sides of the coin constantly, haven't you? And I think that's why I wouldn't be able to trade him away because he's not a player I've got any shares of because I've never made my mind up about him. If I did, though, it's someone I would entertain listening to offers for. And I think I wouldn't, especially for rookie picks this year. I think there are other backs I could get with picks and maybe that package deal I would rather have on my roster, maybe long-term than Achane. So, yeah, I don't disagree with that at all, Zashad.
Thanks very much.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a nice little wrap-up for some of our trade-away candidates then. Comment below any you completely disagree with us on or any players you're looking to trade away. But I think that'll do us for now. We're going to take a little break for a couple of weeks as we start to prepare our deep dive shows. We've got 32 teams to prepare graphics for, make notes on, get some guest hosts on board as well. And then we'll be with you at that point for 30 days in a row. Lucky you. But for now, it's time to say bada bing, bada bye. Malcolm, take us home.
You have been listening to Pestle and Ed of TH Fantasy Football. For more content, follow TH_fantasy_NFL on Instagram and Twitter.